Hello all, it's James Johnson, aka Sulfur Blade, and I'm here with yet another political diatribe. Well, this one should prove to be somewhat interesting, at the same time maybe informative, and maybe eye-opening about a topic that seems to be a fairly common topic in some circles, but yet a fairly not understood topic all at the same time. And in fact, I think I've been rather misinformed in this topic myself. And I really started looking into this today for two reasons. One, I caught a clip on Fox News that really made me say, what? And then one of my friends online brought up this individual. And that individual would be George Soros. And so, I don't know. I guess I've had this preconceived notion of who George Soros is in my mind. And every time I've ever heard the quote-unquote George Soros is the devil and he's trying to destroy the world, I shrugged it off as, you know, typical Alex Jones conspiracy theory stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Alex Jones. But every now and then, Alex Jones is like this. So this is the first video we're going to start off with. Alex Jones being Alex Jones.
I'm just saying, sitting here watching scrotumize Soros and all these other people that just like... that they want us to die because they're already dead. And I just want to tell Soros this. You need to die. I'm not going to kill you. I don't want anybody, because I don't turn you into a martyr. I'm saying you're going to burn in hell. Okay? It's a universe of your own creation, jerk. And I just want the world to know that you are to blame. How's that sound? Because I'm really pissed off at you, man. You're a dick. You're a jerk. You're an asshole. You're a goddamn piece of shit. All right, I gotta stop. And the same thing goes for the Clintons and all you people. Like, what is your problem, man? You want to piss on people forever and create war and have us kill each other so you can play God? A God creates planets. A God gives people power. A God revels in our success and our dreams. You're not a God. You're a devil. That's all I got to say to you.
Okay, so I love Alex Jones. I really do. But he's a conspiracy theory minded person, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people are. I myself, I like to dive into conspiracy theories myself. But at the end of the day, if you portray yourself as a person who puts a lot of stock into conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, your credibility starts to fade. You know, it's like the little boy who cried wolf. Granted, much of the things Alex Jones has said in the past are coming true right before our eyes, and if there's anyone that must be feeling like a very vindicated son of a bitch, it's him. He's predicted all the craziness that's happening right now before our eyes, and it's happening. But yeah, so I had a preconceived notion of who George Soros was, and usually when I hear George Soros talked about, I start immediately thinking flat Earth or conspiracy theory. But I think at some point, some things aren't conspiracy theories. Some things are the reality. And if you can get past your initial disbelief that it's a conspiracy theory, then maybe you have to accept the possibility it's not. And so George Soros for a long time has been, in my eyes, a conspiracy theory. However, I think it's time that we start waking up, and that's mainly what this segment is going to be about. And it mainly came to my eyes because of this episode here at Fox News.
Yeah, it's so true. They represent everybody, right? Speaker Gingrich, I know you have a final thought for us.
Yeah, look, the number one problem in almost all these cities is George Soros elected left-wing, anti-police, pro-criminal district attorneys who refuse to keep people locked up. Just yesterday, they put somebody back on the street who's wanted for 2 different murders in New York City. You cannot solve this problem, and both Harris and Biden have talked very proudly about what they call progressive district attorneys. Progressive district attorneys are anti-police, pro-criminal, and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros' money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring George Soros into this.
I was going to say you get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions of dollars he spent?
I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Okay. So it's verboten.
All right, we're going to... Okay, we're going to move on. A historic day at the White House.
Okay, so this caught my eye, and there were several things that kind of stuck out to me. There was Newt Gingrich, who you could say a lot of things about Newt, right? He's a former Speaker of the House, Republican Speaker of the House. He's definitely a conservative individual. I was not always completely in agreement with his policies, which might sound funny, me being a fairly conservative voice on this channel. Newt Gingrich was a bit right of myself, so he was certainly a bit more conservative than I was. We'll put it that way. However, you could say a lot of things about Newt Gingrich. Liar never was one of those things. And if Newt Gingrich is going to make the claims that he made on television, then he's obviously done the research to back it up. So when I heard Newt Gingrich say those things about George Soros, that raised an eyebrow, like, whoa, did he really fund these DAs? Huh. Maybe I should check into this. And then the other part of this clip that I found interesting was the immediate conspiracy theory reaction to it. The people that quickly cut Newt off and was like, we don't need to go there. We don't need to talk about George Soros, blah 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 blah. Like, you know, it's talking about flat Earth or something, right? But that's not the case. So time to do our own research. All right, so doesn't take long. You can surf the web and you can find some stuff floating around the web fairly easily, where you can start to discover who George Soros donates his money to. And one of the PACs that George Soros has donated large amounts of money to is Justice and Public Safety PAC. That same PAC then elected St. Louis Circuit Court Kimberly Garner, who's the one who wanted to arrest the people, the Mark and Patrick McCloskey, who were defending themselves, but yet she attempted to arrest them for defending themselves from the protesters. Another example another high-profile prosecutor who was backed by Soros in the past is Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx. Kim Foxx drew national attention when she dismissed the case against actor Jussie Smollett, who had been accused of faking a hate crime attack against himself. All right, so now 2 DAs. San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Bowden, another beneficiary of Soros-tied contributions, recently defended the movement to defund the police. 3 DAs. The other district attorney who are participating in the commissions are Philadelphia's DA Larry Krasner and Suffolk County, Massachusetts DA Rachel Rollins, who have both benefited from Soros support. 5 DAs. In Contra Costa County, California, District Attorney Diana Beckett, also backed by Soros, changed how her office handles police shooting cases, removing Deputy District Attorney Barry Grove from his role as main prosecutor in such case, and switching to a team approach, yada yada yada. 6 DAs. Orlando State Attorney candidate Monique Worrell is also backed by a group linked to Soros in her quest to fill the seat that was vacated by Aramis Ayala, who was also supported by Soros. Worrell's platform calls to end cash bail, which would result in more defendants. Okay, so this is obviously a spot where the candidate was backed, and I don't think the candidate was elected. Worrell's opponent Ryan Williams has cited the Soros connection as point of attack, and Worrell has accused Williams of playing an anti-Semitic trope by mentioning Soros' involvement, but the Jewish political philanthropist is not the only player in the game of prosecutorial campaigns. Real Justice PAC, also co-founded by Sean King, has supported 29 head prosecutors and state attorney generals since 2018, including several who were backed by Soros, such as Gardner, Bowden, Rollins, Becton. The organization is also backing the 2020 campaigns of Fox and 13 other candidates. If you look at Real Justice PAC, it is also a PAC that has received money from George Soros. While it might be founded by Sean King, Real Justice PAC has indeed also received contributions from George Soros. And who did these guys get elected? Real Justice succeeded in getting elected in Multnomah County, Oregon, District Attorney Mike Schmidt. You know, the guy who won't end the protesting in Portland, Oregon? That Mike Schmidt? Yeah. Another DA. So we've got tons. Delisa Garza, Democratic primary in Travis County. So this is a huge trend here. George Soros is putting his hand in the cookie jars of these local elections, putting these DAs in place. And why? Why is one billionaire trying to affect so many local elections? He doesn't live in all these places. What does he care about these elections for? What is the agenda? So now let's see a bit talking about kind of this clip with Glenn Beck, who's quote unquote kind of one of the resident experts on George Soros. In fact, one would say that his media coverage of George Soros when he was at Fox News got him fired. So let's see what Glenn Beck has to say.
In Ukraine, that's what he's doing here in America right now. Newt Gingrich the other night on Fox News, they said about Soros that, we best not talk about him. I remember those conversations where you're not supposed to talk about George Soros.
Wait a minute. I want to get to that here Yeah, I want to get to that here in a second, but I just want to ask, is there any doubt in your mind that George Soros has his fingerprints on the upheaval we're seeing in liberal cities across this country?
Well, zero. He is funding through several organizations the riots and the people that are rioting in the streets through several organizations. There's absolutely no question. We could show you the documentation. I have shown the documentation on air.
All right, so I'll stop there. So 2 points that I wanted to get out of that particular clip is the main point being that Glenn Beck actually worked for Fox News, and when he was at Fox News, he was actually told to lay off of George Soros, not to talk about him. There's speculation, lots of speculation as to why that might be. Many people think that there's probably some sort of friendship between Rupert Murdoch and George Soros, and so it's Rupert Murdoch's orders, the guy at the top of the food chain, saying, "Hey, don't talk about George Soros." But it could be any number of reasons. We don't know for sure, but there is evidently a doctrine at Fox News that they're not supposed to talk about George Soros. Hence the clip we earlier saw. So I wanted to show Glenn Beck because when he was at Fox, he was instructed to lay off of George Soros, and that was kind of the point of that bit of clip. Now, Bill O'Reilly, also Fox News, same time as Glenn Beck. Bill O'Reilly also was willing to take shots at George Soros back in the day. Bill O'Reilly was also instructed not to talk about him. However, I think Bill O'Reilly has done a really good job talking about the core issue of the DA situation, and I want you to get a chance to listen to him lay it out.
Verboten means forbidden in German. Okay. I'm not going to comment on the Fox News personnel there. I'm going to tell you the truth right now because Speaker Gingrich knows the truth. So George Soros has donated $17 million to county races to get far-left progressives into the district attorney's office. That is a fact. All right? $17 million. Now, these are county races. So that's an enormous amount of money. In Contra Costa County, that's Oakland, California, Soros donated $275,000 to Diana Beckton. She is a DA who will not prosecute looters if they're poor. She says, oh, it's okay if they break into the store because they need what they're stealing. In Cook County, Illinois, that's Chicago, Kim Fox, this is a Jesse Smollett total fraud. She was in charge of that. $2 million to her. And you know what Chicago and Cook County is. Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, $1.5 million from Soros to him. Krasner doesn't want to keep anybody in jail. No cash bail. Nothing. Let everybody out. Violent criminals? Yeah. Okay. Philadelphia's a mess. All right? And the murder rate in the United States under these, and one more, let me give you one more. Kimberly Gardner, St. Louis, is the one that trying to prosecute the two husband and wife who had the gun with the protesters in their yard. Okay. $68,000 from Soros to Kimberly Gardner. The national murder rate, as we reported yesterday, is up 15% from last year. In the largest cities, 26%. So Gingrich is absolutely correct. Absolutely right. Now, none of the people on the panel seem to understand what Gingrich is talking about. I think that's a fair assessment. But the rule is if you invoke the name George Soros, then you're anti-Semitic because Soros is Jewish. He's a secular Jew. He's not a practicing Jew. Not that it matters. So if you say the name George Soros, you are anti-Semitic. That's what the ladies were responding. Oh, we don't need to mention George Soros, we don't want to be accused of being anti-Semitic. So why are they buying into that? This is a factual story. George Soros is using his billions of dollars to undermine the justice system in the United States, in my opinion, and in Newt Gingrich's opinion. And we have our stats to back it up. And you can't discuss that? Something really, really wrong going on.
Indeed. So let's just go ahead and click
Yesterday.
back. We'll pause. And I'll kind of give you my final words here. So, no matter how you slice it, George Soros is a name that elicits reactions. Reactions from conspiracy theory to anti-Semitic reactions, what have you. But if you can get past those initial gut reactions and look past that, and you start to get down to the cores of the issue, there's actually an issue here. George Soros has actually funded these DAs all over the country. And for what purpose? Why does George Soros need to fund DAs in Chicago, in Philadelphia, in St. Louis, in Oakland? I mean, that's literally all over the country. Granted, he's a rich person. Maybe he has a home in each of these jurisdictions. But I really don't think that's the issue. I'm thinking more along the lines of there's a more Alex Jones-like conspiracy theory that's not actually a conspiracy theory. So, oftentimes when you look into enough conspiracy theories, every now and then one of those zingers turns out to not be so much of a zinger after all. So maybe this isn't Hollow Earth. Maybe aliens didn't build the pyramids. Maybe the ninth planet didn't crash into the Earth and create the asteroid belt or whatever. You know, maybe it's not Nephilim, but there is, when Alex Jones was talking about George Soros being the devil and trying to bring down Western civilization, there may be more to it than what originally meets the eye. I can't begin to understand why he's funding so many DAs. And the DAs that he's funding are almost primarily DAs that believe that there shouldn't be such a thing as bail, right? You should get released immediately after you commit the crime. It doesn't make sense anywhere. It's primarily DAs that believe in things like defunding the police. How does defunding the police benefit the United States? The only way it benefits the United States in anyone's eyes is to destabilize it. So is George Soros really trying to destabilize the United States? Is he a bad actor who's using his billions to cause some sort of serious upheaval in the country? Your guess is as good as mine, but there's clearly evidence being pointed out here by the scholarly Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, not exactly a whack job conspiracy theorist. You know, when Alex Jones brought up George Soros, I kind of closed my ears. But now Newt Gingrich is bringing up George Soros. Well, I gotta kind of open my ears now, because this is a very different mouthpiece. This is a very different person making the claims. And what are the claims? The claims are very provable. You can easily check these different PACs. They have to report who has donated to them. You can easily find out that George Soros has donated large amounts of money to these PACs, and you can easily find out that these PACs have supported these DAs. It's something that's right there in the public records. That's not something that can be hidden, and is not just a made-up conspiracy theory. It's the real fact of the matter, and there's no denying it. So what's the reason? He's a completely far-left nutjob who actually believes in this stuff? It's possible. I mean, there's a lot of completely crazy nutjobs on the far left, obviously. And if one of them's rich, I suppose that shouldn't make him any less susceptible to the possibility of becoming a crazy left-wing nutjob. So really, I guess the major factor that boils down to me in this conversation is, what is George Soros's motivation? Is it clueless, crazy left-wing nutjob ideology? In which case, I don't think it's criminal as much as it's stupidity. Or is it actual malicious intent to destabilize the country? In which case, that is criminal, right? That is evil. That is devil-like behavior, as Alex Jones would say. I don't know a way of determining that without having some sort of conversation with George Soros, which is not something that's going to happen anytime soon. I doubt that little old me with 600 some subs is going to get to interview the second or third richest person in the United States. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, there you go. Maybe George Soros isn't so much the conspiracy theory many of us have thought he was. And maybe there's a lot more to the story than what meets the eye. It clearly is starting to look that way. And like many of the things Alex Jones has spouted out about, a lot of this stuff is starting to really start to appear very clear in front of our eyes. Anyway, I'm James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade. This is my content. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all. Peace.